Progressive brings you Flowetry with Flow.
To count the discounts, safe driver, paperless, automatic payments, multi-car, so many a penny. Saved is a penny earned, you learn. The money you saved, it builds like a wave of dollar bills. The thrills, scary movies give me chills.
Discounts that help you save more for the things you want. From Progressive. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Sin's Chat Corner. This evening, it is my immense pleasure to have with us one of our most finest Wisconsin up-and-coming businesses, which would be Sarah of the Weather Vane Creamery. So, without further ado, since she's on the line holding for us, let's get started with our interview. Good evening, Sarah.
Hi there.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so excited to be having Sarah on the show. I have to reiterate that. I was just talking about you 30 seconds ago and just thinking to myself, it's been way too long since we've tried to orchestrate this interview. So I'm very excited to tell everybody what your venture is, what you have going on, what you're working towards, and maybe how we can help you assist your goal. I think that would be very fundamentally important this evening. So first off, I wanted to state just how much I admire just your tenacity and your courage that's relative to taking on a venture such as this. I mean, all of your efforts in trying to formulate this creamery to me is it's just amazing. Goes without saying.
Thank you.
No, I mean, certainly I feel that River Falls is just blessed to have such a talent such as yourself based upon the background that hopefully we're going to share with the audience tonight. I thought that we might just start off by just maybe having you relay part of your own life story to the audience, kind of give them some background as to where you came from and how this was all established from the get-go.
Sure. Well, I think the story probably starts here in River Falls. I came here for college. I came for the horticulture program. We have a big agriculture department here at the University of Wisconsin, River Falls. And my senior year of college, I ended up managing the local health food co-op right on Main Street here in downtown. And I went on to pursue my career later in Chicago and then some years in Portland, Oregon. I worked for a large horticultural company, worked for Starbucks Coffee Company in Chicago on the train line, had $1 million store. And then I went out to Portland, Oregon, and I was a produce manager and did produce sales to chefs out there. And life took a turn. I decided to come back to be closer to my family and the people that I love. And my mom lives in Appleton. I have a sister in Heartland, and another sister was in Madison at the time. And I decided to come back to River Falls because it's where I got my beginnings, and I love the town. I love the river and the Twin Cities area. So that's what brought me back. I thought maybe I'd open up a coffee shop, and I got back, and the town already had a couple, and so that's where things got started with Weather Vane Creamery.
Ah, I gotcha. Now, just to kind of reiterate there, just to go through a couple different things in your life here. I know that for you, Chicagoland had boasted a position in horticulture, while Starbucks had provided you some management background. Now, in the city of Oregon, or I should say the state of Oregon, provided you the opportunity to expand upon a natural foods co-op. Now, which of these endeavors do you think facilitated the motivation with which to purge forth in the creation of the creamery?
Well, definitely Starbucks. It was a wonderful training opportunity. Starbucks has a lot of heart, a lot of organization, passion. As a big corporation, you know, how they're run is admirable, and I always admired the founder and CEO, Howard Schultz. When I was applying for the job, I started reading his first book, Pour Your Heart Into It, when I was in the lobby at the Chicago corporate offices, and just really admired him and felt like I got to know him from working there, and it made a huge difference as an entrepreneur to get that professional experience. And then to be thrown in $1 million store on the train line where you have a line around the block at 5 a.m. With the high volume, it was a ton of fun. I love my customers. I love my staff. There's like a great deal of intimacy, and I got to share coffee with people and food, and it was just a perfect fit.
Okay. I gotcha. Now, unbeknownst to most of us, at least most of the listening audience, you were a student, of course, at UW River Falls, in which you were pursuing your bachelor's in horticulture. Now, was this particular field one that you could state as being your life calling, or had your endeavors previously been in an opposite direction?
Well, I think my life calling was always to be an entrepreneur or in sales or something like that. I started really early when I was 10 years old working for my dad. He's an auctioneer. So I was doing that and witnessed him as an entrepreneur growing up. And then I had a paper route, and I always had a lot of sales. So I was like 15 years old, and I had a resume.
Wow!
I would take it around town, and I had, I always worked since I was 10 years old. So how I got into horticulture was that in high school I just had some hard times, adjusting and. What got me through those hard times was I got involved in my local FFA chapter, Future Farmers of America, because they got to go on the coolest field trips. They got to go to the Mitchell Domes and, different places, and I thought it was a place to relax, and as it turned out, I got really passionate about plants and getting my hands dirty. I felt it was really meditational, and it really got me through some times, and I became an officer, which took me to leadership conferences in Washington, D.C. and other places, and the national convention at that time was in Kansas City, Missouri. So all of a sudden I was traveling and getting all these professional experiences from that, and it just really built my self-esteem and made a huge difference for me and made me think about what I wanted to do in college, and that's where it really started.
And interestingly, I was just thinking to myself now, because I am obviously from Milwaukee and not from River Falls, I've only visited, I think, once or twice. Is that an area that's high as far as the horticultural thing, or is that something that kind of fits in, or something that's kind of mainstay in your area?
No, I don't think any more than any other area of the state. I mean, we have wonderful horticultural companies in the Twin Cities, landscaping, wholesale, nursery supply, and things like that. But my high school, I grew up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, so it was really urban, and my high school had a greenhouse. So I took horticulture as a class, and so when I came to college, I actually wanted to do egg education and be a teacher, a high school teacher. But I didn't know anything about dairy or corn or soybeans, and it was a huge disadvantage as a freshman going into these major agricultural classes, and a lot of these guys grew up on farms and knew everything, and the horticulture degree, all of a sudden I knew everything. It's really unusual to come into college with any horticultural knowledge. Most people don't have a background. So I just fit in really well there and, knew my way around, and so that's how I detoured into horticulture. But when my first career move out of college, though, was for the Ball Horticultural Company in West Chicago, Illinois, and they're actually the largest wholesale horticultural company in the world. So I was launched right into a supreme opportunity with that company.
Certainly. Okay. Now, I noticed that upon your return to River Falls, you formulated partnerships with the River Falls Chamber of Commerce, the Small Business Development Center, and Pierce County Economic Development Corporation. Now, might you share with us your combined vision and goals relating to River Falls business?
Well, I also am working on, kind of in the background, another organization called the River Falls Business Information Network. And really, having lived here 10 years ago and having left and all the things I missed, when I came back, the city was still, there's a lot of open storefronts and a lot of bars and a lot of thrift stores and a lot of people, the same business people working their storefronts. And we lost the Kansas City Chiefs, actually. They did their spring training here, and a couple of years ago they went back to Missouri for their spring training, so it made a big impact on the town. And I just really treasure so much about what's here, from our organic farmers to our Class A trout stream, to the university, which is an amazing resource, and we have a huge artist community, and we're right on the cusp of the Twin Cities. And so I really wanted to bring vital community here, and I wanted to empower our Main Street, which is why I wanted to have Weather Vane Creamery be right on Main Street. And some things were starting to change, and we got a new big grocery store, and we're getting a ballpark for our youth and adult baseball leagues, and things are, you can hear the crow above me. I'm outside. It's super beautiful here right now.
Sure, I can imagine.
So, so I just wanted to elevate that, and it's a big passion of mine to bring all of the business people together. And I know that I have a lot of resources intellectually from my background working at Starbucks and different things. And, you know, if we all pool our resources as far as things like what's your most successful marketing effort you ever made, and if all of us business people talk about those things together and have open communication, we can elevate the whole town. And that's what I'm passionate about, and I think that comes from my background with co-ops. And one of the cooperative principles is, you know, sharing information freely. And I just saw when I worked at health food co-ops how that really worked, and just having a great network, and I want to bring that here. And also have my business be an expression of vitality that draws people into River Falls.
Certainly, and absolutely wonderful goals and aspirations there. All the more a true testament to who you are, I must say. I know that it's been stated your original business plan startup budget was $200,000. Might I inquire as to if this is a fair and accurate, would that be fair and accurate as far as an estimation to date, and if so, why or why not?
Well, I'd say I have all the breakdowns, and it's like $135,000 to do the build-out and the inventory and the labor and the register system and all of those things. And then the rest of the money, the $65,000 would be like a line of credit to get us through our first month of sales. Like if they, you know, pretend we had 0 sales in the first 3 months, you know, how do we continue operating and paying people paychecks, and, you know, how do we gear up for the holidays or whatever. So it's really about $135,000, and it's relatively accurate. In fact, recently, it's kind of funny, the wind is blown in a slightly different direction, which is kind of where the name came from in the original location, downtown River Falls, that I was scoping out. Didn't end up working out, so I'm looking at 2 other locations right now and working on lease negotiations, and one of those was a brand new building that's not built yet. So actually I'm speculating that it'll cost less to open up there because I won't have, you know, I can tell them where I want the electrical and the plumbing and work with the contractors of the building. But I still think 135 is a very solid number, and we'll definitely get the job done. Now, I did raise about $3,000 on Indiegogo, which is kind of like Kickstarter, and then I got another $3,000 in loans after that, so about $6,000 there, and then recently raised $15,000 through private local lenders, and I have another investor that we're working on the contract right now for $25,000 for a part of ownership. So that, and I've also put in my own, actually I was just doing the math, over $13,000. So we're getting there, and working with the banks. Yeah, it has been a journey, and so it's actually getting to a place of like, wow, there's lease negotiations, and we're an LLC now. I just sold my first product this weekend, and I got my seller's permit, so things are really moving forward.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. To utilize your verbiage, you wish to establish a local business that is smart, quirky, accessible, and magical. Now, can you explain to us how the creamery shall bring each of these components to River Falls?
Sure. Let's see. Well, one of the inspirations for me is having lived in Portland, Oregon, and there's a lot of magic out there on the West Coast, and a lot of trends start out there, and there's just a lot of neat things, especially having sold produce to chefs out there. I got to see new restaurants opening and just see innovation, and there's some of those restaurants are now have sister restaurants in New York City, and so it was really amazing to be part of that scene and to see what kind of elements you can put into a business to make something really smart. For my generation, which I think is Generation X, it's like the Apple generation. Apple is super smart. When I say smart, that's the kind of smart I mean, where it's kind of sassy and has style, and so you can do that with styling and promotions and things like that. And then the magic, there's a few elements that I've got. The dragon, for example, in the logo is because I personally am a dragon in the Chinese zodiac. This year is the year of the dragon. Dragons are prosperous and lucky, and they're also stubborn, so that's me. And, it's not your grandma's cheese shop. It's not going to have gingham or roosters, and so that's kind of, I want to have a cheese shop for the next generation where families can come in and it doesn't feel corny or, ginghamy. And then the products also will have, as far as the products go, there's cheese and grilled cheese and tomato soup and coffee. The coffee is actually a roast I brought back from Portland, and the local co-op where I got my beginnings here 10 years ago, probably 11 years ago now, is actually roasting that coffee. And then we're not going to be doing espresso, but a pour-over coffee method, which is basically grinds in a filter, and you pour coffee over it, you get your cup of coffee. And it's just simple, and also it's a great way to enjoy just the simplicity of a good cup of coffee. And I think that's magical for people, too. It's experiential. I did want to have a jukebox and, just some things like that. And let's see, down there, you're in Milwaukee, but in Madison there's a store called Fromage Nation right on the Capitol, and they're a very high-end cheese shop, and they've got these beautiful displays of cheese wheels and a bakery case, and we'll have the same thing, except a couple will be rotating on turntables, just for kids, just to have, for them to look at something and just to kind of spice it up. So those are the kind of elements that Weather Vane Creamery will have that lend to all of those things, and to just not, I have to remind myself to not take myself or life too seriously, and I think that's where the quirky comes from, or I drive myself nuts, but just because I'm there, quirky will show up.
I gotcha. I understand. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, for myself personally, I would certainly be intrigued by Wisconsin specialty retail shop and cafe, which is what we're talking about, which boasts of a very hip and modern flair, and also, of course, being on the main street in River Falls. Can you possibly provide to the listeners maybe somewhat of a rundown of the various Wisconsin-only selections which may be made at the creamery?
Well, actually, we're not making any of the cheese there or any of the ice cream, and what we're doing is showcasing all of the wonderful Wisconsin food makers that are here. So there's this organic slow churn ice cream from Castle Rock Organic Dairy in Osseo, Wisconsin, and we'll have root beer floats and different kinds of floats from it's a Berghoff soda, which is actually brewed in Wisconsin, and it's natural sugar, and it's a really good, amazing product. And then we'll have the grilled cheese is going to be cheeses from different cheese makers around the state. Holland Family Farms, they have this amazing Mariaki Gouda in various flavors, and it's just the creamiest, meltiest, amazing cheese, and provolone, and Alpha's Morning Sun from the Burnett Dairy Co-op up in Grantsburg, and different places like that. Just I love Alpha's Morning Sun. We actually used it at the Wisconsin Grilled Cheese Championship this spring, and it's a Gruyere and cheddar blend. So it's cheddary, but it melts really well. And oftentimes you'll throw cheddar in a grilled cheese and it gets oily and it separates, but this cheese is like perfect. So just highlighting those things in a grilled cheese and all the cheeses that we'll carry for cutting and also are cut to order. And then also frozen meats. And I just love, I don't know, there's just amazing meats in the state. Brats and sausages. And
sure.
So I just want to highlight those. And like a funny idea I have, and I have to admit I haven't talked to them personally about this, but Norski Nook is a cafe, and there's 4 of them up around here, and they make pies, and they make like championship pies that are amazing and kind of quirky and smart. Is in March for International Pie Day is March 14th. It's 3.14. It's like joking on the number pi. And I wanted to just sell a few of their pies during the month of March, like things like that. So it's just really celebrating the amazing foods and the food makers here in Wisconsin.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. And the nice part is that you can showcase just a potpourri of it. It doesn't have to be a specialty of, meats or cheeses or whatever. You're kind of combining all those elements. And the fact that they're solely and exclusively Wisconsin-type products, which is what I find so unique and out of the ordinary, which is amazing.
Yeah, right. And I can rotate really cool stuff through seasonally, too, because, I'm just doing the grilled cheese, which is this cheese and bread, but then, in August when we have local tomatoes, I can do a seasonal sandwich with local tomatoes, things like that, and just mix it up.
Exactly. I was interested to ask this question. From your own personal standpoint, now, how do you intend upon securing the future success of said business?
Me personally.
Because obviously, of course, I know you steamroll this and you're like, okay, now we're going to open up this creamery, but obviously we also have to look down the road and think to ourselves, okay, how do we solidify taking, a simple idea, making it into an actual business and then making it successful?
Well, I've been working on it for over 1.5 years now, and I've been doing so many promotions just in person, at the chamber or at the River Falls events, like we had Town and Country Day this summer, or the Wisconsin Grilled Cheese Championship. And recently, I was out at the American Cheese Society conference in Raleigh, North Carolina, meeting dairy professionals, journalists, things like that. And what I see for Weather Vane is, as far as a marketing standpoint, is the first 6 months working on just the town of River Falls and surrounding areas. And then after that, we'll work more for marketing to the Twin Cities. Now, last weekend I did the Afton Art Fair in Afton, Minnesota, and I had a survey, and one of the questions on there was, would you be willing to make a special trip to River Falls from Minnesota just to see Weather Vane Creamery? And the results were astounding. Like over 90% of the people said yes, they'd make a trip out to Weather Vane Creamery. And I think, well, that was like 80 people, and that was one day, and they are now on my email list. And I'll let them know when we open, and they'll be here.
Sure.
And so that's another marketing phase. And the third marketing phase is to all of Wisconsin tourism, and I'm just developing some connections there. And I have business colleagues in Madison. I work with the Dairy Business Innovation Center and the Wisconsin Milk Marketing Board, and they have offered a lot of support. Now, the Dairy Business Innovation Center is actually closing this month, but I definitely got my money's worth out of their consultants and the people that they connected me with. So that's kind of the marketing plan of making it solid. And and one of the things about choosing River Falls is I feel like the town has a diversified population of the college students and the commuters, and then the people that grew up here. And I felt like, well, if one of those segments for some reason drops off, I've always got another segment to to talk to and attract and bring into the store. So that's something that I've really thought out. And then there's things for the future Weather Vane, like future expansion, franchising, online presence, things like that. So those are all floating in my head, too.
Oh, of course, definitely. Do you find that it's been an arduous task to solidify investors to the project?
Well, I don't know. It's a hard thing to answer because it's like I've talked to so many people, and what started Weather Vane Creamery coming into any sort of existence was one investor that said, I'm in. Come back in 6 months with your business plan, and, we'll figure the rest out. And so I went off and worked on that and did all of that, and I came back to him and had all this momentum, and like it was a done deal. And he said, I'm sorry, a business partner in another, my other business, it turns out has been stealing from me. So I'm out. So I had it all was going to be really easy, and then all of a sudden I was left with nothing but a business plan and a lot of momentum and optimism, and I just kept going, and it was like, well, who else, how else can we do this? So it's just been a journey, and if I would have known it would have looked exactly the way it looks now, I would never have embarked on it. But every day, stepping forward, it's like amazing and wonderful. And my investor that showed up now was a stranger to me, and I, in fact, kind of blew them off when they said they wanted to consider being an investor. And just met them one time, and the second time I met them, they said, I'm in, and it was a miracle. And that was just a random person out of the hundreds of people that Weather Vane has touched through our media, our campaigns, and it's just like all of a sudden there's a mystery person is going to show up and be the one, and this year, and then other people now have stepped forward and said, well, I want a piece too, like I want to be involved, and it's been really grassroots, and it's taken longer than I wanted it to take, and I'm not a patient person, but I guess looking back, it just goes the way it had to go. And going forward, it's going to go however that goes. It's kind of, like I said, that's where the name one of the places that Weather Vane came from was just like shifting with the wind. and the investors and the money is a part of that too.
Okay. I'm curious, as an observation, and this is just my own little fact, my little digging into this project of yours, I did notice, obviously, you have an advisory board. And although it appears to be relatively small, it contains just a powerhouse of professionals from what I see. I'm curious as to how these individuals were not only selected, but further why they opted to participate in your venture.
Well, there's an unofficial advisory person that's not pictured there, and it's a colleague of mine that I met, like one of these random people, and he is on a national board for angel investors. And so he knew I was an entrepreneur. I was really excited about my excitement, and he said to me, you should do what the Rainforest Cafe did. And he said, first of all, you need to get a board, like an advisory team. Like you probably already have them, but, here's the kinds of people that would be on that. And all those people kinds of people he mentioned, I was already talking to on a regular basis, and they were advising informally. So he suggested that, and then he said, and what Rainforest Cafe did was the founder created the cafe in his basement, with all the rainforesty themes, and then he had people come over, and that's how he got his investors. So you need to have one of these events. And I was kind of like, oh, yeah. And I went to Paul Rohde, who owns the Agave Kitchen in Hudson, Wisconsin, and he and I have been meeting on a weekly basis. Someone said I needed to talk to him. He liked working with entrepreneurs as a consultant, and he was the sort of guy who high school degree, climbed his way up, owned several businesses, or been a part of several businesses, and he's a pillar of the Hudson community. And so I went to Paul in our weekly meeting, and I said, well, Paul, here's the feedback I got. And he said, yes. And, and so the both of us just started planning that. And he's like, he's really got just bolts of brilliance. He's like, this is what your invitation has to look like. Take notes, and we worked together on that. And all the people, Leo and Tasha and Max and Kevin, were all people I was already working with in some capacity. They already had been really generous with their own wisdom of their own backgrounds. And when I went to each of them and asked them if they would be on my advisory team, and I guess it's a surprise to me, but everyone was like honored, and they were like, wow, thank you for asking me. I would love to be a part of that. And then later we would have conference calls together planning our investor event. And I asked, like, well, can everyone say, why it is that you're a part of this? And just so that they could get to know each other like a team building exercise. And everyone's like, well, we just love your energy and we love what you're doing and it's exciting and it's fun and we want to be a part of it. And so that's been really humbling, actually, to be surrounded by such incredible, generous, knowledgeable people. So that's how that came to be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I was impressed. I'm like, she's got this, she's got this, she's got this. So you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's, so to speak, as it relates to having these individuals to advise you and to guide you and to help this be a successful collaboration, obviously. Like last night, actually, like for example, how we work together, I just sent out like a lease with a place I want to rent, and I faxed it or emailed it to everybody and said, okay, everyone, what do I know about lease negotiations? Here's the lease, here's the outline, here's some concerns I have. What have you guys got to say? And it's just, and then even with my investor, when he came forward and he said, well, how does this sound to you? And I said, well, I don't know how it sounds. I'm just going to submit it to my advisors. Oh, sure.
So definitely. It's, and then my advisors even expand beyond that team. I mean, there's other people that I know have, specialized experience in different areas. I toss ideas out to, and they help and make a difference for me. So, yeah, it's been really amazing.
Great. Now, at the present time, is there a need or any interest on your part to maybe solicit additional products, meaning besides the ones you've already established, the ones you've already talked about? Do you think that at some point in time or maybe even now you're looking for additional product, or you kind of think this is kind of where we're at and this is where we're leaving it?
Well, right now where I'm at is just nailing down the finances. So once everything comes through, once I have the lease and once the investor contract is complete, at that point there's about 6 banks that I go to, and I've gone to one a couple times, and they bounced it back to me and said, these are my concerns, and I take those concerns with my advisors and consultants and say, here's what the bank said. And the bank's actually, that particular bank is Impact 7. They're a community development bank. So a CDFI, financial institution, community development financial institution. And anyway, they've been really useful with really good feedback. So I take it back to the team. I say, okay, these are the points that they're concerned about. Let's rework the financials. Let's, that's what actually had me go out to Afton and survey people to show the bank, yes, people will travel from Minnesota over the border to Wisconsin just to come here, things like that. So those are the things, and once those are all locked down, the exciting part is then I get to, we get to build and plan that out. So probably I'm not looking for products right now. Unfortunately, like a lot, it just go wasted on me. I'm cheesed out. I've eaten a lot of cheese this year.
Sure.
So I get cheese in unless it's super intriguing, so when I have a buying team that I'm working with or I'm in the phase of actually figuring those things out. I'm definitely seeking things out. And when people read articles about me or they come across me, different suppliers and vendors, like this honey person locally saw an article, they emailed me and said, well, I'd like to sell my honey to you. I just put that in a folder. I reply back and say, well, when I get to that point, I'll get in touch with you. And I put that email in a special folder in my Outlook, and I know that I'll call them, when it comes time. So right now isn't quite the time for that.
Okay, gotcha. Now, to those that are listening that may wish to take the initiative to assist you, I will share, and as you had prefaced earlier, obviously, that you had the establishment of the online fundraising campaign, which is at the Indiegogo, which I'm assuming is still going on at present.
Well, it was in February, so if people
okay.
want to contribute, they just need to get in touch with me, and through this I've learned that there's things with the securities and the SEC, the Securities and Trades Commission, or whatever, of what I can say publicly. But if people want to contribute either as a lender or investor, they can get in touch with me, and we have programs set up for that. And people can always donate as well if there's people that want to contribute beyond the campaign. And that's always been a miracle, just to receive a check from a stranger in the mailbox it's happened, and it's like such an amazing thing. So, my email address is Sarah with an H, SARAH @wvcreamery.com, and they can contact me there. And, go on to our website, wvcreamery.com, or our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/wvcreamery, and they can, contact through those ways as well.
Look at that. You just kind of got ahead of me there. So thank you for doing my job.
Yeah, sorry.
Gotcha. Now, my actual final question for you is just, do you have an actual, in your mind, your perception or goal, I should say, as it relates to the actual grand opening of the creamery? Meaning, obviously, I know you're in the process of solidifying financing, et cetera, but what's your ultimate goal?
Well, the goal right now is to open January of 2012, and I think a grand opening date, depending on how things go, would either have to be in March, because that is St. Patrick's Day, and we can do a lot of fun cheddar celebrations in March. But I really want to do a grand opening in June for June Dairy Month. As far as, we'll do a soft open and then really, amp it up in June for the Dairy Month.
I gotcha. Okay, and that's your designated sort of, okay, this is what we're going to do and that sort of good stuff.
Well, that's the day we party. We'll have people come in, and we'll do business prior to that, but when we actually want to have our coming out party, like, hey, by the way, in case you didn't figure it out, we're here and we're going, and this is the party, June will be perfect for that. And, then ice cream, and kids will be out of school and all of that.
Oh, definitely, and that works out ideally. I mean, just perfect for you as it relates to the entire project, obviously. Now, just to reiterate, as you just mentioned, obviously Sarah has a Facebook page, which is WV Creamery. She is also located on Twitter, which is the @ sign, and then WV Creamery, of course. Her website being www.wvcreamery.com. Is there any part that I missed at all there, Sarah?
Nope, I think that is everything, and there's on the website, there's a place, and also on Facebook, where you can join our e-newsletter, and and I guess if we have a minute, there's a fun story I'd like to share. Actually, there's a ton of them, but this is probably the most high-profile celebrity story I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and what people don't really know is last March, it was after our Indiegogo campaign had wrapped up, and I felt drawn to go to the Starbucks shareholder meeting in Seattle, Washington. And I had gone the last 3 years when I had lived in Portland, and I was back here in Wisconsin, but I really felt like I needed to see Howard Schultz speak in person for inspiration, almost like, to feed my entrepreneurial soul. So the first idea was, I'm going to go out there and just go to the meeting. And then all of a sudden it started evolving, and I realized I had this idea. I wanted to invite Howard. I was working on drafting a letter to ask Howard to become an investor and mentor. And I thought, well, I worked at Starbucks. Who do I know that maybe could even hand deliver this to Howard? What are my connections? I was looking at LinkedIn. I was doing all sorts of things. And then I realized, well, I'm going to the meeting. I could personally hand it to him. And it's so perfect,
Sure.
And I didn't want to tell anybody about it because the whole idea of it just freaked me out. It scared me, and I already was working on the letter and the draft. So I put that together, and I put a non-disclosure agreement in a folder so that he could see the business plan. And I made the journey to Portland first to be with my friends and kind of get moral support, and then drove up to Seattle for the big day. And during the Q&A part of the shareholder meeting, and actually Starbucks, Howard initiated a campaign called Create Jobs for USA. And it's where you go to Starbucks and you give them $5. It magically turns into $35 somehow. I don't know how, but that goes to those community development financial institutions, the CDFIs, like Impact 7. And his idea was to turn around the American economy through jobs and through supporting entrepreneurs. So I have my bracelet on, and you get a bracelet when you give them your $5. And little did I know that probably a huge chunk of that meeting was devoted to talking about the Create Jobs for USA initiative and Howard's passion. And so here I am after 3 hours, and I get up there for the Q&A, and I stand at the microphone, and I introduced myself, and I invited him to be an investor and a mentor, and he, said, give us your stuff, and, we'll take a look at it, and thank you for making the journey, and whatever he said, it's on video. You can watch it on their website. I have links to it on the Weather Vane Creamery website under the media page. And then 2 days later, I was back here in Wisconsin. I get a call from the president of the Opportunity Finance Network, which is the organization that's partnering with Starbucks in that campaign. And he was apologizing to me for, for playing phone tag and for not getting back to me right away. And here it was 2 days after the meeting, and he said, well, Howard personally asked me to follow up with you and to see if there's anything we can do for you. And so he and I talked, and he gave me some names of some consultants, and he said, well, you really got Howard's attention. And I was jotting this down in my notebook because I could hardly believe it was happening, and I was so once again humbled by these amazing people that have come forward to help me and Weather Vane Creamery exist, and and it's just amazing. So that's my most favorite story. It's I didn't know. It was I just was on this mission, and my knees were not even weak this year. And the previous year, I had got up and asked him another question, and I was like, wow, now I know why I had to ask that stupid question last year. So I would know how to do it this year.
Oh,
so
sure.
I mean, those are some of the magical sort of things that have happened during this time, and how things have evolved, and all of a sudden I'm going in this direction, that direction, and all these people, and the media and people who, just today I was with someone that I never met before, and he said, wasn't there an article recently in the Country Today? And I said, well, it was back in April. And he's like, yeah, I recognize you. Or at the grilled cheese thing in Mineral Point, Wisconsin, this girl says, you're the girl from the internet, So it's just oh my gosh. Right.
Oh,
I'm like, wow. So I don't even know or understand the impact, and then I bump into people. It's just been an amazing and continues to be an amazing personal and professional journey. So I just wanted to end on that fun story.
And that's an absolutely wonderful way to be able to end this interview. I have to, again, A, thank you very much for your time. B, tell you that I think that your work is extraordinary. I think you have a passion that just kind of exudes as you're speaking about this business, which I find fascinating because I have the same passion for my writing and my show, so I know exactly how you're feeling. If there's anything that I can do for you, I am more than willing to do so and will continue to advocate your business, and certainly I would welcome the opportunity to come and party with you to celebrate and to advocate and to support. I would be all over that like when I'm right. I'm all for taking a road trip.
You're on the VIP list.
Oh, you're so
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all. And just to let everybody know, Sarah's interview, after we get finished here live, will become an archived episode so everyone can get an opportunity at any given point in time, come back and listen to our interview, and certainly we'll try to get that blasted out to YouTube so this will become more of a national forum for you. And again, Sarah, you're welcome back on my show anytime.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. Thanks for everything.
Not a problem at all. We'll let you get back to your evening. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right, folks, thank you so much. That was my interview again with Sarah of the Weather Vane Creamery in River Falls. Again, I just want to say thanks again to her. Certainly, go ahead and check her out on Facebook. That's WV Creamery. She's also on Twitter, which is the @WV Creamery, website being www.wvcreamery.com. And certainly, as she had mentioned, please send her an email address or send her some information or tweet her if you have any inclination whatsoever to either donate or to volunteer some time for her cause. I just want to briefly mention that tomorrow night, 6:30, we're going to be having our next interview, and the lady that I'm so privileged to say will be on is an individual by the name of Luenell. If you wish to do some internet research on her, spelled Luenell. Luenell is actually an actress, and she's been an established actress for quite some time. And I'm very excited to be doing this interview tomorrow because her premiere for her new movie is actually coming out on this Friday, which many of you might have heard about, which is the new animated movie Hotel Transylvania, which also stars Adam Sandler. So again, 6:30 tomorrow evening, Sin's Chat Corner. I hope all of you have a wonderful night, and I hope that you decide to come and tune in tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Thanks.
What you doing? I'm running out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really? Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.